The Galactic Council's emergency session had been called for the third time in 2 standard cycles. Ambassador Zethkar of the Vorthan Empire slammed his crystalline appendage against the obsidian table, sending ripples of bioluminescent anger across his translucent form. The holographic displays surrounding the circular chamber showed the same terrifying image that had haunted their collective nightmares for weeks. Skarmoth the Devourer. The ancient dragon that had laid waste to 17 civilizations across 4 galactic arms. Its scales, each the size of a battlecruiser, shimmered with an otherworldly darkness that seemed to absorb light itself. The creature's eyes burned with the fury of collapsed stars, and its breath could melt through quantum-reinforced hulls as if they were morning frost. The beast has emerged from its 1,000-year slumber, announced High Arbiter Quintel, her melodic voice carrying the weight of impending doom. Our long-range sensors detected its awakening in the Theta Serpentis system 3 rotations ago. Since then, it has consumed the populations of 6 worlds. Representative Brakthas, whose people had barely survived Skarmotha's last rampage centuries ago, stood with trembling limbs. My ancestors spoke of this terror in whispers. The dragon feeds not just on matter, but on the life force itself. It grows stronger with each world it devours. The council chamber fell silent except for the soft hum of the universal translators. Every species represented in the vast hall had heard the legends. Skarmoth was older than most of their civilizations, a cosmic predator that had haunted the galaxy since before the first spacefaring species had left their home worlds. What of the human delegation? Asked Ambassador Velterra, her insectoid features clicking with nervous energy. They were supposed to present their application for full membership today. Zethkar's form flickered with disdain. The humans? Those primitive bipeds from the 3rd spiral arm? What could they possibly contribute to a crisis of this magnitude? They have barely mastered faster-than-light travel. Indeed, humanity was the newest species to achieve interstellar capability. Their small fleet of exploration vessels had only recently made first contact with the galactic community. Most council members viewed them as curious but ultimately insignificant creatures from a backwater world they called Earth. The chamber's main viewing portal suddenly illuminated as a modest human transport vessel approached the station. It was laughably small compared to the massive dreadnoughts and bioships of the established galactic powers. Its hull bore simple geometric patterns rather than the complex energy matrices that adorned more advanced civilizations' spacecraft. The human vessel is requesting permission to dock, announced the station's AI. They claim to have a solution to the Skarmoth crisis. A wave of what could only be described as laughter rippled through the assembled delegates, though it manifested differently across species. The Zephyrians produced musical tones of amusement, while the Korathan representatives released clouds of chemical humor markers. Let them dock, High Arbiter Quintel decided, her tone suggesting more curiosity than hope. Perhaps their primitive perspective might offer some overlooked detail. 20 minutes later, the human delegation entered the council chamber. The sight of them always struck the alien representatives as oddly endearing. They walked on just 2 limbs, had no natural weapons or armor, and their single pair of eyes could only perceive a fraction of the electromagnetic spectrum. Yet something about their confident stride and unwavering gaze suggested they took themselves quite seriously. The human ambassador, a middle-aged woman named Sarah Chen, stepped forward. Behind her walked a small male human, and, beside him, a tiny female human that barely reached the other's midsection. Honored members of the Galactic Council, Ambassador Chen began, her voice steady despite the obvious magnitude of the crisis, we have come to offer our assistance in dealing with the Skarmoth threat. The chamber erupted in a cacophony of alien expressions of disbelief. Zethkar's form pulsed with bright indignation. Your species has existed in space for less than a standard decade. What could you possibly know about facing a cosmic entity that has destroyed civilizations spanning millennia? We know about dragons, Chen replied simply. The translator system struggled with the human word dragon, settling on various approximations across different languages. To most species, it came across as something like large flying predator with fire capability. Your world has these creatures? Asked Representative Brakthas, his voice filled with new respect and horror. No, Chen said, which caused another wave of confused murmurs. But we have stories about them. Thousands of stories, spanning our entire recorded history. In every human culture, across every continent, we have told tales of great dragons and the heroes who faced them. Stories? Zethkar's disbelief was palpable. You propose to face a cosmic horror with children's tales? The small female human stepped forward. She appeared to be what humans called a child, though her exact age was difficult for alien observers to determine. Her dark hair was tied with colorful ribbons, and she wore a simple garment covered in patterns of small earth flowers.
"I'm Emma," the child announced to the vast assembly of the galaxy's most powerful beings.
"I'm 7 years old, and I know how to make friends with scary things." The silence that followed was unlike anything the council chamber had ever experienced. Here stood a being not even fully mature by her own species' standards, claiming she could befriend the most terrifying predator the galaxy had ever known.
Ambassador Valterra's clicking became rapid and agitated. "Surely you cannot be serious. You would send a juvenile to face Skarmoth?"
"We're not sending her anywhere," the male human said. He introduced himself as Dr. James Morrison, a xenobiologist and Emma's father. "But Emma volunteered for this mission, and our research suggests she might be our best chance."
"Research?" High Arbiter Quintel leaned forward, her interest genuinely piqued.
Dr. Morrison activated a small holographic projector. Images of Earth's history began to display, showing ancient cave paintings, medieval tapestries, and modern films, all depicting humans confronting dragon-like creatures. "Every human culture has developed similar mythologies independently," he explained. "Always, the greatest dragons are defeated not through superior firepower, but through understanding, compassion, and sometimes love. In our oldest stories, the fiercest dragons are often revealed to be lonely, misunderstood, or in pain." The alien delegates watched in fascination as the projections showed human children befriending dragons in countless stories. Tales from every corner of Earth, spanning thousands of years, all carrying the same basic theme.
Emma stepped closer to the holographic display.
"Dragons are usually mean because they're sad or scared or hurt," she explained matter-of-factly.
"They just need someone to be nice to them."
"This is absurd," Zethkar declared. "Skarmoth has devoured billions of sentient beings.
It is a force of pure destruction."
"Maybe," Emma said, tilting her small head thoughtfully, "but, in my favorite story, the biggest, scariest dragon just wanted someone to love him."
Ambassador Chen stepped forward again.
"Members of the council, we understand your skepticism. But, consider this, every other approach to Skarmoth has failed. Military might, advanced technology, psychic barriers, dimensional weapons, all have proven useless. Perhaps it's time to try something that no galactic civilization has ever attempted."
"And what, precisely, would that be?" asked High Arbiter Quintel. "Kindness," Emma said simply.
The word hung in the air like a foreign concept. Most galactic languages had no direct translation for the human term, as few species had developed such a concept independent of biological necessity or social contract. Dr. Morrison continued his explanation. "Our preliminary analysis suggests that Skarmoth's destructive behavior pattern is consistent with what human psychologists would classify as pain-driven aggression. The creature may be acting out of suffering rather than malice."
Representative Brackthos stood slowly. "Even if your theory were correct, how would you propose to implement this kindness strategy? Skarmoth's presence alone generates enough radiation to kill most organic life forms."
"We've developed protective equipment," Dr. Morrison said, "and our ship has been modified with quantum shields based on technology shared by the Eltarian Republic."
The chamber fell into thoughtful silence.
The assembled delegates considered the unprecedented situation. Every conventional approach had failed catastrophically. The dragon grew stronger with each world it consumed, and military intervention only seemed to increase its fury.
Emma walked to the center of the chamber, her small figure dwarfed by the towering alien representatives. "My daddy says I'm really good at making friends with angry animals. Last month, I helped a herd bird that kept trying to bite everyone who came near it."
"A bird," Zethkar repeated slowly, "is somewhat different from a cosmic entity capable of destroying entire solar systems." "Maybe," Emma acknowledged, "but they're both just scared and hurting."
"That's what my mommy taught me before she went to the stars."
The personal revelation created an unexpected shift in the chamber's atmosphere. Even species that didn't experience emotion in recognizable form seemed to sense something significant in the child's simple statement.
High Arbiter Quintel's voice was gentle when she spoke. "Young Emma, do you understand the danger you would be facing?" Emma nodded seriously. "Daddy explained everything."
"But someone has to try to help the dragon before more people get hurt."
"And dragons in stories always like children better than grown-ups."
The logic was simultaneously childish and profound. In the face of ultimate cosmic terror, a small human child was proposing the most radical solution imaginable, approaching the destroyer of worlds with open arms and an offer of friendship. The journey to Skarmatha's current location took 3 standard days aboard the modified human transport vessel, now designated as the diplomatic ship Friendship. The name had caused considerable amusement among the alien observers, though none dared voice their skepticism too loudly after the Galactic Council had officially approved the mission. Emma spent most of the voyage in the ship's observation deck, pressed against the reinforced viewport, watching the stars stream by in brilliant lines. Her father worked tirelessly in the adjoining laboratory, running final calculations and adjusting the quantum shielding that would, theoretically, protect them from the dragon's deadly radiation. "The energy readings are off the scale," Dr. Morrison muttered, studying the sensor data streaming in from long-range probes. "Skarmatha's bioelectric field is generating more power than most civilizations use in a year." Ambassador Chen joined them in the observation deck, carrying a steaming cup of what humans called coffee. The alien delegation that had insisted on accompanying the mission maintained a respectful distance, clustered around their own monitoring equipment and speaking in hushed tones. "The Zephyrian commander estimates we'll encounter the outer edge of the dragon's influence field in 6 hours, Chen reported. Their instruments are detecting massive gravitational distortions." Emma turned from the viewport, her young face serious. "Is the dragon still eating planets?" "The latest reports show it consumed the 3rd planet in the Kepler 442 system yesterday," Chen confirmed gently. "The planetary evacuation was only partially successful." The child nodded gravely, processing information that would have devastated most adult minds. "Then, we need to hurry. The dragon must be really, really hungry." Dr. Morrison paused in his calculations. "Emma, sweetheart, I need you to understand something important. When we encounter Skarmoth, we're going to see things that might be frightening. The dragon is enormous, possibly the largest living creature anyone has ever encountered." "How big?" Emma asked with the practical curiosity that marked her generation. "Early estimates suggest it's larger than Earth's moon," her father replied. "Its wings, when fully extended, could easily span the distance between Earth and its satellite." Emma's eyes widened, but not with fear. "Wow. It must be really lonely being that big. I bet no one ever visits or plays with it." The observation struck the adult humans silent. In all their scientific analysis and strategic planning, none had considered the social implications of being a unique cosmic entity. Ambassador Velterra approached from the alien monitoring station, her insectoid features displaying what humans had learned to recognize as concern. "Young human Emma, our psychic specialists have attempted to scan the creature's mental patterns. They report encountering something unprecedented." "What did they find?" Dr. Morrison asked, setting down his data tablet. "Pain," Velterra replied simply. "Overwhelming, ancient pain that has persisted for millennia. But also something else. Longing." "Longing for what?" The alien delegate's translator struggled with the concept before settling on an approximation. "Connection. Understanding." The psychic specialists described it as the mental signature of someone who has been alone for so long that they have forgotten how not to be alone. Emma slipped down from the observation platform and walked over to Velterra. "Can I talk to the dragon through your psychic people?" "The mental contact is extremely dangerous," Velterra warned. "The creature's emotional state could overwhelm even trained telepathic specialists." "But I'm really good at talking to sad animals," Emma insisted. "Maybe I could just say hello?" Dr. Morrison knelt beside his daughter. "Emma, this is different from the hurt animals you've helped on Earth. Skarmoth has been alone and in pain for thousands of years. Its mind might be too damaged for normal communication." "That's exactly why it needs a friend," Emma replied with 7-year-old logic that was difficult to argue with. The ship's intercom crackled to life. "All passengers to viewing stations. We are approaching the outer detection range of the target entity." The transformation in space around them was immediately visible. What had been normal star-filled vacuum began to shimmer with an otherworldly aurora. Streams of energy, visible to the naked eye, flowed like cosmic rivers toward a point still too distant to see clearly. "Those energy streams," Dr. Morrison breathed, "they're coming from the consumed planets. The dragon is somehow channeling their entire life force." The alien specialists worked frantically at their stations, gathering data that defied most known scientific principles.
Representative Brakthos, whose species had survived Skarmotha's previous rampage, stood motionless at his viewing station, his entire form trembling. "It's just as the ancient texts described," he whispered. "The devourer feeds on the essence of worlds themselves." Emma pressed her face against the viewport, watching the energy streams with fascination rather than fear. "It's beautiful," she said softly. "Like the northern lights that Grandpa showed me in his pictures." "Those lights represent the death of billions of beings," Zethkar said harshly from his monitoring position. "I know," Emma replied sadly. "That's what makes it so sad. All those people didn't get to say goodbye." Her words carried a weight that silenced the entire observation deck. Here was a child who understood the magnitude of the tragedy but still saw beauty in the cosmic phenomenon before them. The ship's proximity alarms began to sound. "Contact in 2 minutes," announced the automated systems. "All personnel secure for potential gravitational effects." Through the viewport, Skarmoth finally became visible. Nothing in their preparation had truly readied them for the reality of the creature. It was indeed the size of Earth's moon, but, unlike the cold, dead satellite, the dragon pulsed with terrifying life. Its scales, each easily the size of a city block, shifted through colors that had no names in any galactic language. Wings that could have wrapped around small asteroids moved with fluid grace despite their impossible size. But it was the dragon's eyes that truly struck fear into the hearts of the observers. They burned with the light of dying stars, ancient and filled with an intelligence that predated most galactic civilizations. "By the void," Ambassador Chen whispered. "It's looking at us." Indeed, Skarmoth had turned its massive head toward their approaching vessel. The movement generated gravitational waves that caused the ship's hull to creak ominously. The creature's mouth, large enough to swallow their ship without notice, opened slightly, revealing teeth like crystalline mountains. "Energy spike detected," shouted Dr. Morrison. "It's preparing to breathe." The dragon's throat began to glow with the same terrible light as its eyes. Every alien delegate scrambled for emergency stations, certain they were about to witness the final moments of the human peace mission. Emma calmly walked to the ship's communication station and activated the external speakers. "Hello, Dragon," she said clearly. "My name is Emma, and I came to see if you're okay." The effect was immediate and shocking. Skarmotha's throat glow dimmed, then disappeared entirely. The ancient creature's massive head tilted with unmistakable confusion, as if it hadn't heard another being speak directly to it in eons. "You look really sad," Emma continued, her young voice carrying across the void through the ship's speakers. "Are you hurt somewhere? Is that why you're so angry?" The dragon's enormous eyes focused on their small ship with an intensity that made the hull vibrate. For several long moments, nothing happened. Then, slowly, impossibly, the creature's mouth closed. "It's working," Dr. Morrison breathed in amazement. "Emma, it's actually listening to you." The dragon began to move, not with the aggressive posture they had expected, but with careful, deliberate motions. It positioned itself so that one massive eye was level with their ship's observation deck, studying them with an intelligence that was both ancient and, strangely childlike. Emma waved at the enormous eye. "Hi. I know you probably don't get many visitors. Would you like to be friends?" The response was unlike anything recorded in galactic history. Skarmoth, the devourer of worlds, the terror of the ages, began to cry. Tears the size of waterfalls flowed from eyes that had witnessed the birth and death of stars. Each drop crystallized in the vacuum of space, creating a shower of diamond-like fragments that caught and reflected the light of distant suns. "Oh, Dragon," Emma said softly, pressing her small hand against the viewport. "You've been alone for so long, haven't you?" The great creature's response was a sound that no translation system could interpret, but every being on the ship understood its meaning. It was a cry of loneliness so profound that it seemed to echo from the very foundations of the universe itself. Representative Brakthos collapsed into his station chair, his form flickering with shock. In all our histories, in all our legends, no one ever suggested that the devourer might be suffering. "Because no one ever asked," Emma replied simply. "Sometimes when people are really, really sad, they do mean things. But they're not really mean. They just don't know how to ask for help." The dragon's massive head moved closer to their ship, careful not to damage them with its proximity. Through the viewport, they could see their own tiny vessel reflected in its house-sized eye. "Would you like me to come outside and give you a hug?" Emma asked.
Every adult on the ship began to protest simultaneously, but Emma had already made her decision. Before anyone could stop her, she was running toward the ship's docking bay. The emergency protocols aboard the Friendship activated immediately as Emma ran toward the docking bay. Every alarm system screamed warnings about the lethal radiation levels outside the ship's protective shields, but the 7-year-old moved with a determination that surprised everyone.
Emma, stop!
Dr. Morrison shouted, chasing after his daughter.
The quantum shielding suit isn't ready yet.
But Emma had already reached the emergency equipment locker and was struggling to put on the specially designed protective suit that the Galactic Council's finest engineers had created for this impossible mission. The suit, built to human child proportions, gleamed with adaptive technology borrowed from 7 different species.
Ambassador Chen activated the ship's internal communication system. All stations, this is not part of the planned approach. The child is acting independently. Through the observation deck viewport, Scarmoth waited with impossible patience. The ancient dragon had positioned itself so that its massive snout was just meters from the ship's docking bay, careful not to damage the tiny vessel with its proximity. Its eyes, each larger than the human transport ship, watched with an intelligence that made several alien delegates question everything they thought they knew about the creature. The radiation levels are dropping, reported Zethkar from his monitoring station, his crystalline form flickering with confusion. The dragon appears to be containing its bioelectric field.
Emma finished sealing her protective suit with help from the ship's automated systems. The suit's heads-up display showed radiation levels that, while still dangerous, had decreased to barely survivable ranges. "Daddy, the dragon is being careful not to hurt me," she said through the suit's communication system.
"See? It's pulling in all its scary energy." Dr. Morrison reached the docking bay just as Emma activated the external airlock. "Emma, please wait. We need to run more tests, check the radiation shielding, verify the suit's life support systems."
"The dragon is sad right now," Emma replied patiently.
"If I wait too long, it might start being angry again and hurt more planets." Through the docking bay's reinforced window, they could see Scarmoth's massive eye watching them.
The creature remained perfectly still, but its tears continued to fall, crystallizing into beautiful, diamond-like fragments that sparkled in the light of nearby stars.
Ambassador Velterra's voice came through the communication system.
"Young Emma, our psychic specialists are detecting a remarkable change in the entity's mental state.
The overwhelming pain and rage are diminishing."
"That's because it knows someone cares about it now," Emma said simply.
"Animals always feel better when they know they're not alone."
The inner airlock door sealed, and Emma stood alone in the small chamber that separated her from the vacuum of space and the galaxy's most feared predator. Her small figure, encased in the gleaming protective suit, looked impossibly tiny against the magnitude of what lay beyond. "All systems show green," Dr. Morrison reported reluctantly. "The suit is functioning perfectly, and Scarmoth continues to contain its radiation output."
Emma activated the outer airlock.
Space opened before her like a vast cathedral of stars, and there, filling her entire field of vision, was the dragon's enormous snout. Up close, Scarmoth's scales were beautiful beyond description, shifting through colors that her human eyes could barely process. Each scale was a work of art that had been crafted by eons of cosmic evolution. "Hello again, dragon," Emma said softly, her voice transmitted through the suit's external speakers.
"I'm sorry it took me so long to come outside."
The response was immediate and overwhelming. Scarmoth's massive head lowered until its snout was just arm's length from the small human child. The creature's breath, which had destroyed planets, now came in gentle puffs that barely disturbed Emma's position. Emma reached out with one tiny gloved hand and touched the dragon's nose. The effect rippled through space itself. Every ship within 100 light-years detected the sudden change in Scarmoth's energy signature. The streams of absorbed life force that had been flowing into the creature suddenly reversed direction, pouring back out into the cosmos like a healing wave. "It's returning the life energy," Dr. Morrison gasped, watching the readings from inside the ship.
"Scarmoth is giving back everything it absorbed."
Emma pressed both hands against the dragon's snout, standing on her tiptoes to reach as much of the massive creature as possible. "You've been carrying so much sadness," she whispered.
"But you don't have to anymore. You have a friend now."
Scarmoth's eyes closed slowly, and, for the first time in millennia, the ancient creature's expression showed something other than pain or rage.
"Peace. Pure, simple peace."
"I think you just needed someone to tell you it's okay to stop being angry," Emma continued.
My mommy used to tell me that when I had bad dreams. She said sometimes we hold on to hurt feelings because we're scared that if we let them go, no one will remember why we were sad in the first place. The dragon's great head lifted slightly, and Emma found herself looking directly into an eye larger than her family's house back on Earth. In the depths of that ancient gaze, she saw not the terror that had paralyzed galactic civilizations, but a lonely being who had forgotten how to hope. I remember now, Emma said softly. And I won't forget. You've been hurt and alone for so long, but that's finished now. With the fearless affection that only children possess, Emma leaned forward and kissed the dragon's enormous snout. The universe held its breath. Light erupted from Skarmoth, but not the destructive radiance of before. This was warm, healing light that spread outward in waves, reaching across star systems and touching every world that had been damaged by the creature's rampage. Dead planets began to stir with new life. Evacuated systems detected the impossible return of breathable atmospheres. Aboard the Friendship, every instrument registered readings that defied known physics. The alien delegates stood in stunned silence as they witnessed the most powerful force in the galaxy transformed by a single act of unconditional love. The energy patterns are completely stabilizing, reported Zethkar, his usual disdain replaced by something approaching wonder. The creature is not just ceasing its destructive behavior. It's actively healing the damage it caused. Emma stepped back from Skarmoth's snout, smiling up at the massive creature. Feel better now? The dragon's response was a sound that no species had ever heard before. It was a song, deep and resonant, that seemed to harmonize with the fundamental frequency of space itself. The melody spoke of gratitude, of relief, of a burden finally lifted after countless eons of carrying it alone. You're welcome, Emma said, understanding the meaning despite the lack of words. Would you like to come visit Earth sometime? We have lots of stories about dragons, and I bet you'd like to hear them. Skarmoth's great head nodded slowly, and the movement sent gentle ripples through the fabric of spacetime. The dragon began to change before their eyes, its massive form becoming somehow less threatening, more majestic than terrifying. Ambassador Chen activated the ship's recording systems. This is Ambassador Sarah Chen of Earth, making an official entry for the Galactic Archives. Today, a human child named Emma Morrison has accomplished what no military force, no technological marvel, and no diplomatic effort could achieve. Through simple compassion and unconditional love, she has transformed the galaxy's greatest threat into its newest protector. Emma waved goodbye to Skarmoth and began making her way back to the ship's airlock. The dragon watched her carefully, its massive head following her movement with the gentle attention of a parent watching a beloved child. I have to go back inside now, Emma called out. But I'll visit again soon, okay? And maybe next time, I can bring some of my friends from Earth. I bet they'd love to meet you. The dragon's song intensified, filling space with harmonies that every species could feel in their hearts, regardless of their biological differences. It was a song of promise, of friendship, of a cosmic force that had chosen love over loneliness. As Emma sealed herself back inside the ship, Representative Brakthos approached Dr. Morrison with obvious awe. Your offspring has just rewritten the history of galactic civilization, he said. How do we even begin to process what we have witnessed? Dr. Morrison watched his daughter removing her protective suit with the casual efficiency of a child who had just finished an ordinary day of play. I think, he said slowly, we start by remembering that Emma saw what the rest of us missed. Skarmoth was never really a monster. It was just a very old, very lonely being who had forgotten how to ask for help. Emma bounced over to the observation deck, pressing her nose against the viewport to wave at Skarmoth one more time. The dragon responded by creating a spectacular light display with its scales, painting the void with colors that had no names. Daddy, Emma said happily, I think the dragon would like to help fix all the places it accidentally broke. Can we ask the council people if that would be okay? Ambassador Chen joined them at the viewport, watching as Skarmoth began moving through space with purposeful grace, heading toward the nearest damaged system with clear intent to heal rather than harm. I believe, she said, that the Galactic Council will be very interested in hearing about our new ally. Thanks to you, Emma, we've just gained the most powerful friend the galaxy has ever known. Emma grinned and turned back to the viewport, where Skarmoth was already beginning the long work of undoing millennia of destruction. The dragon's song continued to echo through space, carrying a simple message that every species could understand. Sometimes the greatest strength comes not from the power to destroy, but from the courage to love. As the Friendship began its journey back to the Galactic Council station,
trailing behind the magnificent form of the galaxy's newest protector, Emma fell asleep against the observation deck window. In her dreams, she flew alongside Skarmoth through fields of stars, showing the ancient dragon all the wonders of a universe no longer filled with fear, but with the infinite possibility of friendship. The galaxy would never be the